A Ukrainian attack on infrastructure in Russia's Belgorod has caused power outages in the city, local authorities reported Sunday. The attack was launched with GMLRS multiple launch rocket system from HIMARS. The strikes hit the area of the thermal power plant, one electric station and substation, media reported. They also reported that part of the city is without electricity and there are problems with water supply. Belgorod Regional Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov said there were significant disruptions in the power supply and urged residents to stay at home. Local telegram channels reported that several explosions took place at the local thermal power plant, causing blackout in the city. Electric station and substation were hit in the attack. Belgorod's mayor Valentin Demidov confirmed disruptions with electricity and water supply, outage of traffic lights and air raid alerts. The moment of the attack was filmed by local social media users.
Охренеть. Ой, мне страшно на улице стоять. Ой, как низко. Смотри. Ну не над нами хоть. Оно просто ушло. Пустое. Нихера себе. Охренеть. Нет, это...
Да ну нахуй. Пидорас. Да ну нахуй, пизда, Бурыч, смотри.
Охуеть! Куда мы попали? Вот это аттракцион, блядь!
Да ну
Нас остановили!
In recent days, instead of progress in peace negotiations, Russia and Ukraine have continued shelling. Ukraine is launching drone strikes in Russian regions, and drones regularly hit different targets. Recall that Ukraine's Western allies had lifted restrictions on long-range weapons attacks on Russian territory. In this case, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenski told the Axios show that if Russia won't end the war, officials working in the Kremlin should make sure they know where the nearest bomb shelter is. Zelensky said he had President Trump's explicit backing to hit Russian targets like energy infrastructure and arms factories. And he said that if Ukraine gets additional long-range weaponry from the US, we will use it. Zelensky said Ukraine would not bomb civilians because we are not terrorists. But he suggested the centers of Russian power, like the Kremlin, were very much on the table. They have to know where the bomb shelters are. Zelensky said of Kremlin officials, they need it. If they will not stop the war, they will need it in any case. The current war utilizes a wide range of unmanned aerial systems. These include interceptor drones, short and medium-range attack drones, and large drones for rear-line strikes. Defense Express reported that Ukraine currently produces over 200,000 drones per month. This represents a 900% annual increase in production. Ukraine is now increasing the number of drone strikes on Russian cities. The war is now spreading to Russian cities themselves. This means that millions of people are living in fear, given that UAVs are becoming increasingly dangerous. The best option during an emergency remains, of course, shelter. Hiding inside apartments and houses or going deeper into buildings is still a viable option, but it's not as safe during the shelling. But these are not available in many cities in Russia. In this situation, Ukraine is increasing the number of drone strikes. For example, Ukrainian drones struck the Afipsky oil refinery in southwestern Russia overnight on September the 26th, Russian authorities reported. Krasnodar Krai's regional operational headquarters reported that Ukrainian drones' debris fell on one of the refinery's units amid a wider drone attack on the region. The Russian officials claimed that a fire spanning 30 square meters was extinguished by crews. No casualties or infrastructure damage was sustained in the attack, officials claimed. Kiev continues to escalate its campaign against Russian oil and gas infrastructure, a key source of Moscow's revenues, helping to fuel its all-out invasion of Ukraine. The refinery, located roughly 200 kilometers from the front line, serves as a strategic logistics hub for diesel fuel and aviation kerosene used by Russian troops. The refinery is also key to Russia's economic might. processing 6.25 million tons of oil annually, or 2.1% of Russia's entire oil refining output. The refinery has been targeted multiple times since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion. The General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces said on August the 7th that a successful strike on the Afipsky oil refinery damaged a technical unit of the refinery. The Russian air defense system at the Kacha airfield in occupied Crimea proved unprepared to counter Ukrainian attack drones. According to expert Pavlo Lakichuk, head of security programs at the Strategy 21 Center for Global Studies, the Russians will either have to abandon the airfield or risk further losses of aircraft, as reported by the Kiev 24 broadcast. The strikes on Kacha are accompanied by spectacular raids by our naval and other drones on Sochi, Tuapse, and Novorossiysk. Not only is Novorossiysk now the main naval base for the Russians who fled Crimea, but it's also Russia's main oil loading ports, where oil is transshipped onto those same tankers of the Shadow Fleet, Lakichuk noted. Under these circumstances, the withdrawal of Russia's military bases from Crimea is considered inevitable. The expert added that the enemy could give up on Kacha and redeploy its equipment or leave it in place. As they say, if it's already burning, then let us all burn together, he emphasized. According to Lakichuk, the occupiers' air defenses proved to be leaky. Or rather, they weren't leaky, they were unprepared for the methods our intelligence and special services used to strike deep behind enemy lines, the expert added. Serhiy Bratchuk, a spokesman for the Ukrainian Volunteer Army, noted that the Ukrainian Defense Forces have intensified strikes against enemy targets in temporarily occupied Crimea. He stated that Ukrainian aircraft may soon appear over the peninsula and that the intensified attacks are part of a response to Russia's so-called summer offensive. Crimea has not disappeared from the agenda. Today, the intensification of attacks on Russian facilities in occupied Crimea continues. This intensification is actually part of the response to the so-called summer offensive on the Russians. Indeed, we are talking about the fact that today, the defense forces of Ukraine continue to work very actively in Crimea. These are ground, air, and sea operations. There is the destruction of Russian air defense facilities, the destruction of sea facilities, and the destruction of ground facilities, in particular railway facilities. After all, the Russian railway today remains a key logistical artery for the army of the invaders, said Bratchuk. The Ukrainian Defense Forces are actively working on Russian military facilities in Crimea. This activity is also aimed at exhausting the enemy's air defense. This stage has been going on for quite some time. With such actions, our units of the armed forces of Ukraine are paving the way for our other firepower. I will not speak for the Flamingo and Neptune missiles now, but the path is being paved. Therefore, I think that soon, of course not tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, but over time, Ukrainian aircraft may appear in the sky over Crimea, which will strike at ground targets, he stressed.